Hi, everyone. Welcome to the latest Carson's Take 5 with Ryan and Sonu. Sonu, we're calling this one hot and cold. I'm in California where it's pretty, I wouldn't say it's hot, but it's warm, but it's cold where you are. How cold is it?
It is freezing. It's like minus 10 degrees. You can see the smoke coming out. So let's do this quickly. It is going to be a take 5.
It's 5 minutes, Sonu. You got to wait 5 full minutes. Maybe I'll let you run inside. It's funny, just before we get there, I said, it'd be funny. I'm in California. You're there. Let's do one with you all nice and cold and me nice and warm. Sorry, I guess I'm not the best friend.
Right?
But let's get into it, Sonu. So there's some good news and some bad news. By the way, welcome to 2024, everyone. We've seen some things that are hot. For instance, the stock market. The stock market is close to all-time highs. Maybe by the time people listen to this, we might be there. That's something that's strong on the heels of the really strong year we saw last year. So something else that's hot, if you think about it, is inflation. It's coming back down, which is probably a good thing. That's why we're classifying as hot. You want to talk about inflation before you freeze?
I know inflation was hot, and now it's getting colder.
Yes, I know. I was wondering if we're having the right place or not.
Yet.
But yeah.
Inflation's not frozen yet. But look, we just got December CPI, Consumer Price Index data, Producer Price Index data. All of that points to, the Federal Reserve follows what's called the Personal Consumption Expenditures Index, PCE, and core inflation, core PCE inflation, which excludes food and energy. Over the last 6 months, that's running below 2%. Over the last 3 months, that's running below 2%. So markets are like, wait a minute, the inflation problem's over. The Fed's got to cut. I think that's the story. Of course, the big question is how soon do they start cutting and how much do they cut in 2024? I think that's what the market's trying to figure out right now.
Well, no, absolutely. We've talked a lot in these very Take 5 videos that inflation coming back down. We're seeing that in the data. That means the Fed can probably start to cut. Do you think the Fed will cut in March, or do you think it'll be May, or what's your best guess there?
I'm skeptical about March. I think markets are putting a probability of about 68-70% for a March cut. I've always been a little skeptical. I think March is a little too early. They've been burnt before saying inflation is transitory. They want to see more evidence that inflation's actually coming down. Yes, 6 months is good, but maybe they want to see 9 months, or maybe they want to see 10, 11. And so I think May is in play. I would say, assuming inflation stays where it is, I would say the odds of a cut in May is maybe close to 80-85%. March, I would say maybe coin toss, maybe slightly less than a coin toss.
Got it. You good news, Sonu. We're halfway done. Are you going to make it? Are you going to survive 2.5 minutes here?
I think so. I made it 2.5 minutes, man. You can't say you're a native of Chicago and not deal with the cold, right?
Exactly. So we titled this one Hot and Cold. The stock market's been hot. Parts of the economy's been hot. Some of the inflation's coming back down. We lumped this hot. But let's talk about some cold things, like some potential negatives, the geopolitical concerns that we're seeing out there, Sonu, whether it be Taiwan or the Red Sea. That's causing some apprehension at the very least. How worried should investors be with these potentially scary headlines?
Geopolitics is always a concern, but like I always say, markets may treat this a different way than, what was I coined this yesterday. Don't be surprised if markets surprise you, right? And geopolitics may not exactly play out in markets the way you expect it to be. That's not to minimize the problem, right? You have the Houthis, Iranian-backed rebels, firing rockets, disturbing the passage of ships in the Red Sea, and that connects a lot of trade from Asia to Europe. Do I think it will affect us directly in terms of inflation? Yes, there are certain shipping prices that go up, but I think it impacts Europe more because a lot of the stuff we get from Asia that comes across the Pacific Ocean, right? So I think it's I'm not saying there's no impact, but it's much less than maybe what Europe will see. And then Taiwan, every time they have an election, I think it raises the concern. Will there be tensions against, the Chinese? The Chinese send battleships to the Taiwan Straits, all of that. But I think this time, it's more of a status quo election in Taiwan. So, things will remain in place as it has over the last few decades, really. U.S. policy is they don't support Taiwanese independence, right? There's nothing new there. That's the same thing. So I think, like I said, status quo.
Well, no, good points there. And something else that we tend to see, right? Even in the strongest years for investors, for the stock market, you see worries, you see concerns. Last year, Right, stocks gained over 25%. Remember the headlines? They were pretty scary multiple times. So again, we're not minimizing these potential concerns, but we are saying, just kind of look at the process. The economy is still strong. There's still reasons to think when this year is said and done, we're going to have another nice year for investors. I mean, Sonu, we're kind of near the end. I know you're freezing. Anything else that kind of potentially is a worrisome sign? We're going to classify it as cold. Anything else that's cold out there that has your attention?
I mean, in terms of risk, I mean, obviously geopolitical risk, but I think if my main risk for this year, to be honest, is if the Fed waits too long to cut rates. I think that's a risk, really, to be honest. I mean, I don't think they will, but you never know with them.
Well, well said there. And I will just point this out. The first quarter of an election year historically for stocks is kind of wishy-washy, not all that great. The first quarter, when you have a really big year like we did last year, can kind of have some indigestion. The good news, the second half under those scenarios tends to be strong, and that's why we still expect pretty good things when this year is all said and done. Well, Sonu, I think it's time for you to go inside and warm up.
Yes,
I'm going to maybe, I might jump in a pool or something. It's so warm out here in California, right? It's really not that warm, but it's warm. Right, 80 degrees warmer. What is the temp right now? I am rubbing it. What's your temp right now in Chicago with wind chill? What is it?
It's like, it's 0 degrees. I think wind chill's like negative 15 or something. So here I am. Here's the city. I mean, there it is.
There it is. The things you do for your job. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm about 80 degrees warmer than you right now. So apologies, my friend. But everybody, this was the latest Carson's Take 5, hot and cold. Sonu's going to go get a little warmer here. We'll see you next time. Take care. Thank you.